Seeing it's Thursday, August 15th at 8:30 in the Mayor's Conference Room at City Hall. The Public Welfare Committee will begin. For the record, please show that Councilor Brooks, Councilor Durnall-Owens, and Councilor Mack are present. Is anybody recording this meeting? As they are not, we will begin with our item 11211, an ordinance to amend the code of the City of Gardner to add a new chapter 15 to be entitled Agricultural Commission. I will let this start with the presentation from the Mayor.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. This is something that Erica Bossi came to visit me on a couple months ago with a petition signed by several different residents in the city. And had the draft of the ordinance, had the petition by several members, letters of support from not only those members of the community, but members of the business community as well, all of which have been included in the packet so that you could have those letters of support and petitions that were there too. Working with Erica on the new Gardner Farmers Market that takes place on the third Saturday of each month, or the recent months. It's been largely successful with several hundred people coming to the event. Last month's market, we had a head count of around 845 for people who attended the farmers market. So it's something that's been growing in the city and something that is, really been successful. And I want to thank Erica for the work that she's done, and Shelby as well for getting this off the ground and making this something that really can happen here in Gardner. There have been some letters of, support, recommendations, or things like that from our various departments here in the city. One that I received particularly was from our chair of the zoning board, who said that there's been a lot of concerns about chickens, and over recent years has been trying to figure out what to do with chickens in the city, because in certain areas of the city it's allowed, certain are not. Gardner is currently not a right to farm community, so there's regulations like that, and let me know that there's been an influx of chicken cases before the zoning board of appeals. And there was an ordinance that was proposed a couple of years ago, and it found that it didn't fit what they were looking for, so things back and forth like that. So that's something that this would help with as well. But I'll really leave this to Erica and Shelby to be the ones to talk about, since they're the ones who submitted the actual draft of the ordinance as well as the petitions that went along with it. With as many signatures as I had, I felt it needed to come before the City Council for at least a review. And they can certainly speak more in detail.
Thank you.
So the farmers market for the first 2 months, we had 20 plus vendors, music, and the library has been putting on kid activities and story time every 30 minutes. It's been very well received. No real complaints. I think the first market we had a complaint about corn not being ready. Overall, everyone's been really happy. We've made sure to include all the local organizations. We've invited CAC to join us, HEAL, and a few of the other nonprofits as well, to really get the community out there. We also have been ensuring that we have our market as part of the senior coupon WIC program. So we did take training on that. We also worked with Mike Ellis, the director of Senior Center, to make sure that we were coordinated with him and had him help market out the market. We've also received a grant from the state this past year to do the funding for the market, which was just under $10,000, which has allowed us to buy a custom tent for our market manager booth. It's allowed us to do the Facebook marketing advertising, actually paid advertising, the websites, a bunch of other things as well. We've ensured that we've had multiple vendors that accept SNAP as well, and we have at least one vendor always there for him. From the ordinances, what we're proposing for this initial round was that we wanted to start the conversation to be a supportive and make Gardner more agricultural friendly. One thing I've been hearing, and I was a part of an organization called MA, the Massachusetts Agricultural Alliance, that I co-ran last year, which was a group of 60 farmers from the North Central Mass region. We heard often that Gardner was not friendly for farms, and me owning 17 plus acres and a few of the others wanted to say, what can we do to improve that? So the ordinances were really about just starting the conversation. We are not making it a right to farm right in that first initial statement. We're not doing anything really that extreme, but wanting to add resources available to our residents for chickens especially. We sat in a zoning board meeting where the guidance on there wasn't actually aligned with what best practices would be for chickens. So we wanted to make sure that we could help and assist and be the counsel for instances like that. In the Agricultural Commission, there are 140 in the state, 240? There's quite a lot across the state. So we're not creating and reinventing the wheel. We're actually taking a baby step in that direction. But that allows us to get additional funding. Also, if we do have a farming issue with residents, instead of having to go to Boston, and the Mass Farm Bureau told me it'd be about $20,000 minimum for the city to pay if there was instances that had to go to Boston for that type of issue. The Agricultural Commission can actually take over that and officiate, kind of mediate between parties. So there are some additional savings and benefits for having that resource in the town, city.
Did you have anything you wanted to add? Yeah. Okay, I just want to give you the opportunity.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, councilors, do you have questions? You want on residents?
I don't have questions.
Okay.
I might have comments, but no questions.
Either was fine.
Okay. So, Eric and I have spoken
Yeah.
months ago, 2 months ago,
Yeah.
a while ago. And I told her we were going to drag her feet on this a little bit because of the racetrack issue and some comments made about this issue tied with the racetrack, which it is not.
Correct.
Putting it out there, it is not. It's totally separated and coming from an entirely different direction.
Yeah.
When we met, I did express my concern that I think this is a lot of structure and, I guess I would use the term bureaucracy, but that's a little strong, but a lot of stuff for what Gardner has currently for agricultural needs. I have a little experience with this in Fitchburg, and it was at a time when the agricultural people were trying to start some things, and seeing how it works, it gives the Agricultural Commission would have a lot of control on certain aspects of things, similar to a Conservation Commission, and in terms of having control of their own funds and certain things like that, which makes me uncomfortable because I'm one that prefers to have everything as much as possible under the general fund and under the control, if you will, of the city council. So I guess there is a need to do something. I'm not sure that the Agricultural Commission is the right start. I guess I would say I guess I would use the word overkill. It's like me buying a 10-ton dump truck to plow my 2-car driveway. I may need a plow, but I think this proposal is just a little too big. And I have no problem with doing something smaller, a little more narrow, especially to start where Erica, you were talking about, this is a first step. I guess I'm looking at it as too big a first step from where I sit.
Okay.
Councilor
With the Agricultural Commission and agriculture in general, I don't have a ton of experience in how the interplay works, with the city. It's the information that we have here, what I've been able to gather online. It's fantastic what you've been doing so far. The farmers market down there is great. I unfortunately won't be able to make it this weekend, but I'll hopefully be there next month. With Councilor Brooks' experience dealing with this on a city level, I'm going to kind of, I think, lean on his knowledge of how it works. I didn't think that commission is something that maybe we go to in the future, but maybe something smaller is to see how it works. Something needs to be in place. I think something has to happen. I don't think this shouldn't be pushed entirely to the side. I think that first step, maybe some kind of committee or group or however we want to maybe propose to organize it to start, see how it works, and see where we need to build from there, and continue building on what you've already started to build here in Gardner, which is fantastic.
For myself, I went through and I really read the building inspector's letter and his role and what was kind of in your proposal, in making sure that, building inspector and board of health are really important roles in both, in the process of an agricultural commission. The setup of the membership you propose actually contradicts the Mass General Law because they have a staggered 3-year membership that they propose. So a 1-year term would be too short, especially if you want to really establish something and give it a solid try and really develop a concrete commission, and get it off the ground. I think that one thing I would like to see more in the mission is, and everything that I read was very much based on the farmer's market aspect of this, and not more into the farming and the chickens aspect of this, because believe me, I watched zoning boards of appeal, and I watched everyone about the chickens and the people who give their chickens the Cheerios, and how in their pigs, and how they are really part of their family, and it's very hard for them when they do face the restrictions that we do have in the city with these. And so I'd like to see, and I said this to you before, I'd like to see this start slower and then build. If we are going to have an agricultural commission, I'd like to see it a little bit more thought out to really include what Gardner needs to include, that the aspects of full farming, not just the agricultural part, but the animals as well, to help out our zoning board of appeal, and include more of the building inspector with the zoning enforcement, as well as and the board of health, because those are the two prime departments in the city that work jointly with an agricultural commission, if we were to have one. So, I do understand that you kind of want an all or nothing initiative, but I love farmers markets. I've supported them for years all around, not just Gardner, but Westminster, Ashburnham, and other areas. But I would love to see a smaller committee advisory board or something start off over in the next couple of years, and then more thought behind an agricultural commission, and then see where it could go from there. I think the one Saturday a month is great. I would love just to see you build on that at first and see how more often it could be, and just see things develop and grow a little bit, and more, and I don't want to say more thought, but more. Have it more directed to really what the needs of Gardner are, and the farmers. Some of the people on here, a lot of them I know, a lot of them I don't, but a lot of them when I look, I don't know if they are, it's just not, there's farmers and then there's gardeners, and a lot of these people, I'd like more of the farmers in Gardner involved in this process, because some of these people and are not probably the ones that have chickens or have the big acres of farm in Gardner that I think of. So that's just where I'm coming personally, but I applaud you and the business people and the community people coming forward to start an initiative. I really do, because I think that's where a grassroots effort, that's where positive things start in the community. At this point, I know that Councillor Brooks has a proposal.
Yep. So.
Can I?
Yeah, you can, absolutely.
Is that okay? So just to reply to a couple of those items. I understand Fitchburg Agricultural Commission was not an ideal situation from our conversations, as well as actually I had a few others conversations about that one. So I don't want one bad seed to taint this idea. There are a few reasons that I wanted to speak to about why the ordinances speak and the mission speaks so much to the market, was because that's the starting point. That's the one where we can support the local economy, the community, start educating them about farms, And then we wanted to take some time that first year, once we got voted in, approved, to create a more farming-friendly area. There's actually more farmers who are actually federally registered as farms doing tax forms than you would expect. A few of them with half acres. So the acreage for selling vegetables is not, and flowers and things like that, is not the same that you might think of as that classic farm anymore. Especially in the north central Mass region, people are farming on less land. And with the efforts of growing places, it'd be amiss to not mention annual growing places, right? The support that they're doing to the local farming community and to our local community in general to allow startup farms in that small acreage to actually make money off of farming right now is great. So the classic farms, yes, we can pull more of them in, but a lot of them are no longer really focused on sales and in our area. A lot of the ones that are actually selling are the smaller acreage. So just food for thought on that. So the proposal was originally targeted to the market because that was the first piece of the puzzle that we had planned from a strategic Standpoint, to expose and see how much of a need there was at the market for this community. The terms, totally, Councilman Brooks and I spoke about it, I'm totally good with adjusting those to a varied multi-year instance if needed. And also, I haven't actually received the building inspector's letter, so I don't have that from a reference point to read. But I've talked to Tom many times. And I also been working very closely with Angela through the Board of Health, and been incredibly positive with coordinating farming needs. And also, when the farmers come to me and ask questions, I know who to point them to, so that's already kind of working. There's a lot of costs associated with the market that you guys may not be aware of, so I want to make sure I'm just noting those. And one of the reasons we really need more of that structure is to allow for the funding, the grants, and having the zoning regs requirements. We had over $500 in fees just to get approval for our market this year to the city of Gardner, to give you an idea, right? So there's additional costs that are coming up because of that market. There's the porta potties that the mayor's been kind enough to help with. There's a few of the other things. So the market doesn't just run itself, and we do want to also pay an employee for the market manager, like all the other markets, Westminster, Winchendon, a few of the others do actually pay market managers, and that's actually common in the state of Mass. Shelby and I attended a Mass Market Manager Conference this spring. There was 81 market managers there in Framingham, and so there's a full organization and group there that all get paid. And so we don't want to, though we have a great volunteer group, it is a very large commitment, and so we want to make sure that we treat that appropriately and professionally. I think it's really important to continue with the grade and the quality of the markets going forward. Currently, the grant paid for some market manager funds, but I've already donated double of that back to the market. Next year, Shelby's planning on being the market manager, and I do want to make sure to support her and fund that through that, which we can't do just through vendor application fees.
Can I ask how much does a market manager receive for a season?
So typically it's averages out to about $20 an hour, and so it depends on how many markets and how much marketing for that market we want to do. Right now we're also doing roughly about $30 to $40 of Facebook advertising once a month for each market, and we've been receiving the total estimated revenue that the vendors have made across all vendors is about $16,000 so far in just the two markets of bringing to the local economy.
So there aren't other grants that you could apply for without being designated as an agricultural commission?
It will help us
Okay.
receive that. But it also allows us to have somewhere to take the funds. We're not a nonprofit, right? So right now we're running some of it out of my farm business, which I don't want to be doing going forward.
However, if you were some type of a subset committee through the city of Gardner, that would allow you to apply for grants and to seek sponsorships through the city because the city's a nonprofit. Correct?
If I'm allowed to, from a
Yeah.
budget standpoint, and
Yes,
control
you
those
do.
funds.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that would allow you.
yeah.
Okay.
And then I don't know about the zoning on that, if we'd still have to pay the
No, because then it would be a city entity.
city entity. Okay.
Correct.
Because that was 3 zoning meetings. It was a lot.
Yeah, so that would assist on that. If there's some subset of the city,
Yeah.
even though it's not a full agricultural commission, that you could still, then you would reap the benefits of being part of the city, which is nonprofit. So you would
Yeah.
still be able to apply for grant monies. Did you receive the notice of this meeting through the city clerk's office? You didn't, okay, you were supposed to. But in this packet, I'm gonna give you on page 3, is a copy of the building inspector's letter. Okay, so you can keep that, that's just a second copy.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, you do. And I think the Board of Health is probably at the end as well, I think, quick
Yeah.
copy. But getting back to the sponsorships, it's just kind of like how I overtook like the flower pots, which was just something I did. They were self-funded, we were able to seek sponsorships. So
Yes.
even through like a banner program, you could
Yes.
seek sponsorships. I think you'd be amazed how much you could offset.
Yeah.
And that's something that we could actually work collaboratively with, maybe with the flower pot program, that people could actually sponsor the farmers market when we seek donations. We could discuss something about that in the fall. Because one thing we found out, the earlier you start, the better off you are
Yeah,
for the next season.
yeah, we did, we have been already into a conversation with JFA for next season.
Yeah.
And we also received the picnic tables, was
Mac.
work from Mackey's,
Yeah.
which we were really, it was a goal, right? There was a couple of reach goals. One was getting marked to add a bus stop, which they have,
Yeah.
for our markets, for all routes on the once a month Saturdays. The other was the picnic tables to allow people to have a place to sit.
And even, you staples, you have the flyers
We
and
had
stuff.
to, yeah,
But the other thing too is, and I'm gonna let Councilor Brooks go into his proposal, but some things like that, if it's something part of the city, you have access to the photocopies here at the
Yes.
city hall and stuff like that. So,
okay.
I'm gonna let him go next and see if,
So, I'll give you folks a chance to read this, but this is basically creating a committee similar to using language similar to the bandstand committee, which operates the concerts, the summer concert at Monument Park. And so this would be, instead of creating it under Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 8L for ag commissions, this would be just a committee created within the city, which would then give you the base you need for handling the funds and applying for grants and stuff as some kind of city entity. It says at the bottom, we have it runs by the law department, so there's some, this is more just a rough thing. But I picked up the purpose. I used your language from the proposal you had for promoting agriculture and agriculturally based economic opportunities within the city, and focus on improving access to fresh and local produce, provide oversight for the operation of the farmers market, and enable community educational events. And that kind of gets you into this. And then from there, it could be built more. This committee could have its responsibilities broadened if that's the direction that the city wants to go. I use the word coordinate, and I'm not sure that's the right word, with the health department. The reason I say that is that I think it's important for any committee or group that becomes part, is it in the city, has some connection in City Hall where you can go to get paperwork done or administrative things that just need to be processed, or information going back out.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming it's the health department, but that would change going forward. And then the section 2 just talks about the money, and that's basic city financing.
Yes.
It says all the money goes to the treasurer, it's held in a separate account, grants are held separately from the regular accounts.
Of course.
And used for that purpose.
Yep.
So,
Standard business at that point.
so I guess that's what I would propose to replace what you had suggested. Because as I say, what you had suggested, I think is too much what we want to do. And I'm trying to have this language, the purpose is still there that you had, so it would be broad enough to do, I think, what you want to do, but without having the administrative structure that an agricultural commission would do.
Can you, sorry,
Okay.
can you speak to your biggest concerns and then also what success would look like for both this committee as well as to when you think would be a good point to make an agricultural commission?
Okay, just give me 1 second to write this down.
Of course, I
All right, so, okay, could you ask me that again?
let's start with first the concerns. So what are your biggest concerns around?
So my concern with the agricultural commission, as I say, I think it's overkill. I think it's the 10-ton dump truck. It's too much structure, it's too much administration, it's too much bureaucracy, it's too much control as part of it too. In something that we're only starting to look at what is out there and what the needs are and so on. So that's why I don't like it.
So on the control, can you speak to which areas you're concerned of the AgCom having control?
I think part of it with that is having a separate fund that they can spend and do without any real oversight. It's like in the Conservation Commission, which has a fund, wetlands fund, which money goes in and they spend. So there's no oversight by any other city group other than the auditor just processing it. I come from a point of view that the city council should be, even if it's a rubber stamp, should be rubber stamping whatever's going on. And so this gives it a little more closer oversight in that respect.
Okay.
And it's not to say that what you're doing is dishonest or anything. It's
No.
the other piece is that in the statute and in the proposal is the ability to keep land and hold land and acquire land and all that stuff. I don't agree with that at all. I think that's something that the city, if the city has parkland that you want to do a community garden on, let's talk. I remember a few years ago, there was a community garden, I don't know if it was city land or Hayward Wakefield land behind the bandstand. I think they had a series of gardens in there maybe 20 years ago.
Yeah, St. Paul's right now has their.
St. Paul's has
that's
one now.
community garden, which is going to be enlarged, is my understanding under new grant funding,
And so there's no
If we get
reason,
the grant.
if we get the grant.
and so to me, there's no reason that you couldn't say, well, we're gonna take a piece of Jackson Playground or Vickford Playground or
Yeah.
one park and we can't do it at the new park because it's all concrete. But I don't know what you call it there. But you know, there could be places where you do that. And we could do that. If we end up keeping 94 Pleasant Street and tearing it down ourselves, we put a community garden here.
I can just say on my start, when I think of commission, a lot of times I think of enforcement, okay? And I think that's jumping too much into the deep end. You know, with the proposal, if I'm going to approve a commission or support a commission, I need a concrete proposal in front of me. And there's a lot of things in here. There's so much ambiguity here. You know, as I said, there's a lot here about the farmers market. I'd like to see more about, farmers including, supporting of animals. In part 2, what the building inspector said, the contradiction of the membership. And then on 1 you say city residents, on 3, and then 4 says may include representatives from local farming communities. Well, those could be non-residents, so that contradicts number 3. You know, you put down shall meet at least 10 times per year. That's a lot, you know. Not all the subcommittees of the city council meet 10 times a year, you know what I mean? So some of those things you have to,
So for a farmer's market, that's not a lot.
you know, but see, that you're going back to, this is an agricultural commission, but you're going back to a farmer's.
But it covers both.
Yeah,
So my-
so, you know, I just would like to see a slower start with this, and we're not saying no to an agricultural commission, but we're saying it will give you more time to create a better proposal for an agricultural commission. That's what my thought is, put more thought process into this. And, you know, I'm gonna let the mayor speak as to, you know, when a state sees agricultural commission, you know, what are they expecting from the city?
Yeah.
Okay.
That I'd have to look into more. I guess my comment would be, I just received this morning, so I'd like to dive into it a little
Yeah.
more. I'd like to, you know, one of the things I'd also add is, you know, potentially adding an additional section and changing this from a farmer's market. And this is just first read on this, because
Yeah.
again, I just looked up this. A farmer's market commission, or committee, to a, maybe just a farming committee, if that's, and I'd have to dig deeper into it, so that way there is an aspect of zoning advisement, that the
Right.
zoning board could refer certain items for at least an opinion, to advise the zoning board on what they're doing. And that maybe that can be a first step to the chicken issue or something like that. That's just an initial gut reaction right now. But I look into, you know, our contacts at the state as to when they see agriculture commission, what does that mean? I'll reach out to the department heads and the zoning board to see, you know, what their initial thoughts and reactions are to. And just, you know, take it under advisement and learn and study from that.
When I introduced myself to Eric at the farmer's market, my original thought was an agricultural advisory board. That was my thought, to still not just be farmer's market, to still encompass everything,
Yeah.
but not jump right into a commission. And that was my first thought, to still give it, you know, it's kind of, I thought, like the happy medium of what Councilor Brooks is saying, to give it time to start slow and then eventually look into an advisory, an agricultural commission, but start with something, and give them some protection of the city and have them become part of the city with, and I think becoming part of, you know, overseeing, you could still have it overseen by, you know, part of zoning board, or it would actually be a building inspector, and board of health, because anything to do with food still has to be part of board of health.
Of course.
Right,
Yeah.
and I don't have, I mean, I said health department, could be
Yeah.
building department. I didn't say zoning board per
Right.
se, because
It's actually the building inspector.
you
I
want,
think.
you want to have,
Yeah.
you want to replace in the city
Yeah.
that you're
Yeah.
coming into.
Right.
That's the first thing. And to your point, Councilor Grant, I don't have a problem with changing the name, or, you've talked about as an advisory, agriculture advisory. So help me out, the zoning board is looking for an outside group that can,
I don't think they looked much more, maybe they are now that we proposed this, but originally I don't think they were looking for it, but they were fumbling and not knowing how to help the resources, people coming up in front of them with how, best practices around chickens especially, right? That was a major concern when we were in the room for our special permit. The way that was handled, I actually went out after the two gentlemen that were in line ahead of us that went and spoke to, and gave him a bunch of resources. What I would love to see is a couple things. One, allowing us to create some content for the website about best practices and links to state and other qualified resources. Curated maybe is a better word. Also, if an issue comes up in front of the zoning board that is around a farming or chicken issue, that we can get, you know, brought in to get asked some questions and be in the room so we can ask questions as well, potentially of the applicants, and be notified of that situation. We're already doing a lot of the advisory. Like I said, I'm getting asked for help. I had a local farm, neighboring city, call me in a panic, wanting help and didn't know who to turn to. And I was able to connect them with the right board of health to help through that and navigate those type of situations. My day job is allows me to have a little bit of a different type of thought process, as well as farming experience and growing up in working on a farm from 14 to 19. And growing up living, my grandparents had a farm, right? My parents' best friends had a cow named after me, like dairy farmers forever and ever and ever, right? So growing up in that type of environment, I understand both the business side and also the farming side. And so I've been a resource for farmers for since I moved here about 5 years ago. And what we'd like to do is formalize that so people who don't know me personally can get access to me and the team of residents that want to support this. We have 5 residents right now that have all asked to be a part of the Agricultural Commission items, and we had 3 or 4 others that said that they might be interested. The combination of both resident Gardner, which I think is a Gardner, which is important, but also farmers of different sizes and scales and with different backgrounds. So I do think we have a nice, well-rounded group right now. And from the meeting perspective, we probably would meet well over 10 times a year, just alone for all the grant stuff, the marketing around and applications and preparing things for the market alone. So that's what I was referencing. Then you have the regular structured meetings that we want to also cover other things. So if I look at Westminster, they meet monthly at minimum. Twice a month, sorry. Their Agriculture Commission, and that's common practice. To like monthly is almost not enough when you're dealing with this type of organization.
So if it's part of the city, it would be an organized, structured meeting like this?
Yes.
Twice a month, that's recorded minutes?
Exactly.
Okay. And I think that being, being a consult to the zoning board of appeals, is something that could be, part of this too. I think they would appreciate it.
Yeah.
Especially as we have a couple new members to the zoning board.
Yeah, that's exactly.
And I think that would be, I think at this point, I would propose that we table this to another meeting.
Do you want to send to the law department for review as is?
Yes.
As well? Okay.
I just have a few comments on it as well. I've been out on some of the chicken cases, for lack of a better term, a little contentious. And having a group who has expertise in this would be great. And from what I'm hearing, thank you, Councilor Brooks, for the proposal. I think farm markets is almost like one of the prongs that needs to be in this. I think it needs to be tied, as we both discussed, to the obviously the Board of Health, which is here, and the building department. Somehow, whether the representative is in these committee meetings as well or not, or how that was set up, may need to be outlined in here. But the problems I'm thinking in my head is, this is the farmers market is one that's what you're already doing. This is being able to get grant funding for that. Obviously, being tied to the city and taking advantage of the benefits of that. The advice to the zoning board, that's another problem that needs to get maybe added into here. And then somehow outreach to local farmers is third. I may be missing something. There may be something else you want to add as well.
Just the general education.
General education, which I think I was in here, but we can separate. I think maybe separating those in like a 4-prong then thing with the general education, outlining like these are our stated goals for this committee. This is what we're looking to do, not just the farmers market.
So actually, I'm going to hold that. I think it actually needs to be revised before it goes to legal.
That's what I've been saying.
Yeah.
We have to figure out what we're doing before we get to
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we need to add advisor to the ZBA, outreach and education.
Assistance agricultural, and it's not just education for like the existing farmers. I guess it sort of is, but I don't know, it feels like it may be separate or under the same umbrella.
So do we want to just call it, first question, do you want to say the agricultural committee, rather than farmers market? Or do you
I don't
want
think you should say farmers market. I think if we want to encompass it, we should be agricultural.
the Agricultural Commission. Okay, so, agricultural, yeah,
Okay.
okay, I stand corrected.
I'd also love a little bit of time to go back to our group of,
And review it.
as well, and review and provide feedback.
That's fine.
So if I change it to Gardner Agricultural Committee, through here. And if I, so you're suggesting that we maybe add a sentence that says, the Gardner Agricultural Committee shall act, is that the word I want? Shall act. Or may act,
Act in an advisory capacity.
may act in capacity for
Mhm.
the zoning board
Mhm.
or other city departments.
Yes.
Or other city departments and boards.
Mhm.
Okay.
And when you have your health department, it should probably say Board of Health. 'Cause that's technically the name.
Okay, I didn't do Board of Health because it wasn't, I didn't want it to be the Board of Health, I wanted it to.
Yeah, there's technically two.
Okay, then the health department's fine.
Yeah, the Board of Health oversees.
All right,
it.
okay, that's fine.
So the.
Yep.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Any other?
No, I'd say that we'll just review it, digest it. and-
Yeah, we'll have to review and digest it, and then we'll have to come to a consensus before it goes to the water department.
Yep.
Okay.
Sounds like they're
So
gonna come back
when
with-
Counselor
Do you want
Brooks
me to-
does
do you
his
want me to-
revision,
Yeah.
he can send it to you.
Please.
Is okay?
Yes.
But any suggestions that you have will have to come back to us.
Yep.
Before it goes to the water department.
Yep, of course,
Okay?
of course. Are we talking like, next week, this week?
Oh, easily.
Okay, just
I'd be
ready.
tired, I don't need time.
I don't want to make assumptions, right? So, I'll probably need about a 1 week turnaround time once I receive it.
Okay?
So I'll write this up, or I'll revise this, and then send it to the committee, there, this group, basically this group here.
Right.
Just what I got, okay.
Yes. And so, just so you know, this isn't going to lock you into so many meetings a month, or, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Just, it would be, but again, it would serve the same purpose. And let you seek a lot of donations, and the donations would just come in directly to the city, so it would be really a much cleaner process financially for you. And to seek, and the grant writer within the city would actually be able to seek grants for you.
Mhm.
Any other questions, comments, concerns?
I am not.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.